Hi everyone, welcome to the Robert Show. We are back and it's part two with Liat and Anthony from BMC. Like I said, we'll be coming back and doing a second half around the trust, delegation, and scale. In the first half, we obviously spoke about people, knowledge, how AI powered, things are helping the developers, the executives, and how obviously we focused on people a lot as well on the mainframe experts, how they're retiring. But this time, obviously, I want to, since we spoke a lot about the AI journey for the mainframe, I want to, focus on the trust, delegation, and scale. So, first of all, Liat, Anthony, thanks for hopping back on the Robert Show and doing a part two of this. I'm excited to chat again. Welcome.
Thanks for
Hey,
having us back.
Ravi. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so let's get into it. I'm just gonna jump directly into it. Anthony, we've spoken a lot around agents, agentic AI, knowledge, how the connectivity can help when the knowledge kind of goes into the agent. You mentioned a lot of things in the previous episode. I'm wanting to know, from insight to action. Once AI is helping people understand system faster, what's the natural next step? Where do organizations start expecting AI to not just explain but actively actually assist? So tell us more about that, and would love to learn also Liat's thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, last time we spoke about, the shift, we called it the shift to AI agents. And what was that all about? Well, that was about us moving from a reactive AI model to a proactive AI model with agents, right? So when ChatGPT came out with their experience, where we all ran out there and started interacting with their models and getting responses back, it was eye-opening, and the things that we could do with AI and the possibilities. But one shortcoming with that model was it's a reactive model, right?
Mm.
You have to, the great technology is there, but it's sitting there idle until we go out and interact with it and getting responses to it. So then we talked about the shift to AI agents, and that was the shift from reactive AI to proactive AI, where we talked about having AI agents as a digital workforce proactively on top of work that needs to happen, right? 24/7, you can run these agents to do work. But how do we get there? How do we get from that reactive model to that proactive model with agents? Well, foundationally, there's a few things that an organization has to look at. The number one thing is, how do we start establishing trust with an AI system in that regard when we're talking about moving towards autonomy or autonomous AI? Well, obviously, we got to take really careful steps. And, I talk to lots of people about this. It's not a marathon, it's not a race. Take small steps. Identify low-hanging fruit use cases, things that you may be doing day in and day out, the toil, the friction, the boilerplate type stuff that you do every day, each and every day, every week. Start to look at how AI agents could step in and pick up that work and get that work done for you. So you start making these small incremental steps, and there's human in the loop at all aspects of this. So even though we have agents that may be running 24/7 or on demand, based on some trigger or stimuli that will wake them up to go do something, the steps they want to take also have to be totally transparent. Anything that an AI system is doing, especially with the agents, to build that level of trust, you have to have transparency into everything that AI system is doing, what those AI agents are doing, the information they're processing, the decisions they're making, the steps that they're taking, etc. Now, when we talk about the steps that they're taking, very well, those agents can start off with just making those recommendations, as you mentioned. All right, this is what we see. This is what we recommend. This is maybe what we recommend you do to take your next step in said issue that may be identified. But as trust is established through that level of transparency and understanding, the human in the loop aspect can move further and further back from the agent. Maybe the agent will get to a point where instead of just making the recommendation, maybe the agent gets to a point of maybe generating the script files for you or opening up a support case for you, and it's doing more and more autonomous work as you trust the agent over time. And it's the same thing like when you raise children, right? When our children are really young, we have a fence around them. And as our children grow and mature, we widen the fence and what our children can and cannot do without our supervision. It's almost the same way when you look at the agents. As the agents grow over time, you widen the fence and the agent could do more and more over time. And again, it all comes back to transparency and observability into what those agents and that agentic system are doing. And that human in the loop, eventually you're going to get to a point where the agent is going to start identifying, similar or known type problems. Maybe the agents are looking back into incident management systems. Oh, I've seen this problem before. It kind of always happens around, this time of year, or we run month-end jobs, etc. And it could then start making recommendations, but also then executing actions to remedy some of those things. And eventually we're going to get to a point we're going to be like, yeah, when you see this problem again, just here's the checkbox, just go off and do it. I trust you in getting that done. So that's the way I talk about this to customers and other engineers around this topic, is that widening the fence of the agent as we move forward.
I love it. I love these details. Liat, would you like to add anything to this? Because you obviously talk to a lot of customers and a lot of enterprise leaders as well, and there's always, you often kind of hear about the spectrum of trust in AI, alerts, recommendations, and autonomy. So tell us more about what you think about it.
Yeah, actually, I really like to think about AI on the mainframe as a spectrum of trust, and I can totally relate to Anthony what you were saying about fencing, because that's, with children as well, it's a spectrum of trust, right? So if we're coming back to the mainframe, at one hand, AI is just raising its hand, right? It's saying things like, this transaction looks off, or this job is likely to miss its window. No decision, no action, just awareness. That's where we start. First step. Then it moves into insight, right? So instead of just alerting, it starts explaining, here's what changed, here's the likely root cause, and so on and so forth. So it's not just paging you in the middle of the night, maybe, it's giving you a theory of the case. From there, you get recommendations. Here are a few ways to fix this. Here, what's worked before. These options are low risk and these aren't. You're still the decision maker, but the AI is doing a lot of the cognitive heavy lifting. After enough repetition and proof, you step into a supervised execution. It means that for well understood low risk scenarios, the system will propose a change, generate the test, and even apply it once you approve it. And finally, in a very, very narrow, carefully guarded areas, you get the bounded autonomy. That's like the holy grail, right? The system can act on its own, log everything, and escalate if anything looks unusual. And here's the real takeaway here. It's not about how powerful the AI model is, it's about how much you trust it. So trust grows with evidence, right? When the system proves itself, you can give it more responsibility. When it makes mistakes, you tighten the guardrails. And if you think about it, it's not different from onboarding this new team member, right? They can be incredibly capable, but they only become useful once you trust them to operate on their own.
Right, and so that goes back, Rabbit, to what I was saying. That's why building an observability layer into your agentic architecture to give you that transparency is exactly leading towards what Liat is saying here. Just want to add one thing to what Liat is saying. When your agents in your system make these recommendations, it's not just, it observes and makes a recommendation and you follow that through. There's got to be a dialogue between the human and the AI system. And what I mean by that, it may make recommendations based on what it knows, right? Based on the data it's observing. In a previous recording, we talked about how you can infuse these agents with additional knowledge to help it drive and make these decisions. But the human can also respond back to the agent and give it further guidance and further educate the agent on its decision making. So there's a really important part of agents here that's the learning aspect of this. And that is really an exciting part of agents, is that we deliver agents to our customers with our solutions, but each agent grows and learns and matures over time in each customer's environment, and that learning aspect that we're going to infuse in our agents.
I love it. I love how you both have kind of, obviously nailed it in terms of, focusing on trust, but what do we need to have in place to have that trust? Human in the loop is like definitely a key word here in terms of understanding how the space, how, you can make agents smarter as well. Anthony, you mentioned about a very important point, which is keeping that transparency, but at the same time, there's always an involvement of human into the game as well, just to make sure that everything that like how we are trusting the agents know there's human in the game as well if they need help, and if there's assistance that we are kind of, if we are kind of assisting the agents as well a little bit, it will help us make that agent smarter, and then they can do their thing, working with different other agents as well. So it's actually a game changer, from where I hear how trust will play an important role. You mentioned about an observability layer, and the spectrum of trust. Obviously, what Liat mentioned is very important. Just have like a follow-up question, because you were talked a lot outside as well, to customers and experts. Are there any use cases, real world examples where teams started, by trusting AI for insight and then gradually allowed it to influence decisions on workflows? Anything that you all would like to share? Any instance, you don't have to take names of companies, but yeah, anything that comes to your mind. Maybe Anthony?
Yeah, so many years of my career, I built a lot of data visualization dashboards, right, in the AI ops space, right? And they, we lay down some very strict rules when it comes to alerts, exceptions, alarms, when to report it, how to report it. Everything was very prescriptive. We would sometimes have to ourselves, hunt and peck and try to identify root cause to problems, etc. This is over 20-year career of building these types of things, but they're very prescriptive. They all follow the same kind of path in that regard. What I like about with AI, in particular with AI agents in this space, is how we can start moving from a rules-based reporting system or dashboarding system in the ops space to something more intent driven. And what I mean by that is you can describe to the agents that you have what your desired outcomes are, how you want the system to be, what the expectations should be across different systems, different subsystems, etc., whatever they may be. You kind of describing the utopia of what you want your environment to be and how you want it to perform. And then you just let the agents then go off and do this type of proactive monitoring, alerting, with them understanding what your desired outcome is in your environment. The agent's doing all the data pattern recognition, discovery, alerting, exception as it relates to what you're trying to, your optimal system performance that you're trying to get to. What's nice about this is that the seasonality comes in, right? All through the year, the agents can learn and adapt to that seasonality very naturally with your intent. So as the year rolls on and you come into holiday season, you can adjust your intentions for your environment based on what you know your capacity will be and what you're expecting. Those agents can look back on past history far more than we, the human, can process. They can make good recommendations based on years of past history, etc. So it becomes more of an intent-driven AI ops reporting system than a very rigid rules-based or process-driven system. So I see a lot of potential in this area for folks to explore.
So maybe just to add one thing to what Anthony was just describing, I heard from a few of my colleagues a provocative question: do we even need a dashboard, right? If you have agents and you can just ask questions,
yes,
right? Why do you need this traditional dashboard? It will take some time, but if AI can bring you the exact answer, paint a chart to show you a trend or anything else, that's a shift from traditional UI, right? It's
and that's
a different way of thinking.
Because we go out there and we create all these predefined views, right, of different metrics across different systems, etc. I love what you just said there, because we could have AI that's driving the experience and AI agents that are driving the back end of I was describing. But to your point, it's the AI agents that are driving the experience. They can materialize the most important views and system information on the fly as needed. It doesn't have to be pre-canned anymore. I could just materialize those as a system or a problem or potential problem that it sees on the horizon is coming. It can just generate all that visual content for you and push it. That's awesome, Liat. That's a really good perspective.
Yeah.
Love it. I love these points here. I'm also going to switch gears a little bit into, the agentic AI. I know, Anthony, we spoke at length about it, but it's such an important topic when it comes to, obviously, the workflows, how mainframe works, get compared to traditional monitoring and automation approaches. So tell us more about how do AI agents and orchestrated workflows change when this scenario happens, and how do you kind of compare that to traditional monitoring and automation approaches, and what does this mean for the enterprises as well?
So it's the prescriptive nature of the way we traditionally approach that in the past with workflows, very rigid. It's like, do step A, B, C, and D. There may be some if and conditionals that go on along the way in that process or in that workflow.
Yep.
Agents will flip that completely on its head. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be prescriptive with agents anymore. The agents could do the observe, make those decision-making and take those actions based on the situation, and the agents working amongst themselves can completely decide what's the best plan of action and the way to solve a particular problem. It doesn't have to be prescriptively orchestrated by a human for the agents to follow. That's what we're starting as an industry right now. There's a lot of that very prescriptive workflows being defined for the agents to execute. And that's great. But as the technology evolves over time, in a very short time, it's the agents that are just going to work amongst themselves to figure out the best workflow to execute a particular action, resolve a particular problem. That's going to be the big shift. That's the big shift that's going to really transform what we're doing with enterprise software.
And maybe just to add to that, Anthony, so I think, managers, in the mainframe domain and other practitioners need to understand that they are no longer managing an interface, right? They're managing a team that is made up of humans and digital colleagues, each doing what they're best at. So that's the shift also to consider.
Yeah, human workers, digital workers, absolutely. And that's an important aspect, Liat, because when you build and design an agentic system like we're doing with BMC Amy Assistant, we treat the human users of our system and AI agents the same way in our system. They're both treated, obviously, as first-class users in the environment, you have to look at your AI agents, your digital workers, with the same way you're looking at the humans. Role-based access, all, groups, role permissions, etc., guardrails, everything that you would do with a human user of your system in security purposes, you have to treat the agents the same way.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. I love how you all have, obviously clearly differentiated about the agentic AI from smarter dashboards and how, organizations should be approaching and looking at this. But just for our audience, I have this question for both of you, which is for organizations listening today, how should they think about, safely moving from AI assisted work to trusted autonomy without losing control and accountability, because that kind of also plays a very important role. Sometimes it's about, the enterprise leaders always thinking about uh you know who's responsible for that AI workflow, or that obviously who's responsible for that trust, the data that needs to be trusted, right? So um, what are your thoughts? What should they be thinking about when, if they, without losing control or accountability, if they need to move ahead with AI assisted work to trusted autonomy? Liat, maybe you can start first.
Yeah. So if you take a step back, both halves of our conversation really follow the same pattern, right? You start by capturing what your experts actually know, not just what's written down. You treat the AI agents like real participants in the system with clear roles and boundaries. You build
Mhm.
trust by being transparent, and you ground everything in data and governance you actually believe in. So when you do that, AI stops feeling like a buzzword around the mainframe. It starts to feel more like a partner, helping you to run,
Yeah.
protect, and evolve the most critical system in the business. And safe autonomy doesn't come from flipping the switch, right? It grows over time. You start small, you keep humans in charge of the big decisions, and you let trust build step by step. And done right, agentic AI isn't about losing control, it's about scaling expertise. So people set the direction and AI helps to carry the load. And if there is one idea to leave hanging in the air, it's that the real journey on the mainframe is from knowledge locked in the heads of these few brilliant individuals to organization where that knowledge is captured, amplified, and increasingly executed by AI that has earned our trust.
True. No, I like how you mentioned about, obviously all of these things, but also making sure that trust is in place, which plays a very important role. Anthony, what are your thoughts?
I talk. It's another topic I talk quite a bit about, and a lot of our customers got very high aspirations what they want to do with AI agents. But I try to ground them a little bit that this is not an overnight journey,
Journey. True.
right? That's the way I like to describe it. It's not an overnight journey. It is a process. It's a process of trust over time, and with that process of trust over time, you'll get to your achieved goal. But you have to have a clear, articulated path on how to get there. And as you establish agents over to address the workflows or the processes that you want to involve agents in, those respective agents should have a human that is responsible for that agent in that process to ensure that agent is behaving and executing and doing the work that it was designed to do. There has to be human oversight, not just with the entire workflow. If that workflow involves many, many agents, you may have many humans involved that have areas of expertise in those areas where those agents are playing. So you have to identify a very crisp plan as a whole, but also the individual steps and who's the human that's going to be responsible for those steps along the way, because there's got to be checks and balances as you establish that trust.
It's about the ownership as well. Who needs to take that
That's right.
ownership?
Yeah.
So that's so true. And these are fantastic insights. Again, I'm gonna ask. You both have like fantastic insights always. We kind of covered a good ground here when it comes to trust, delegation, scaling, and obviously also some real world examples that you've shared. And one thing that you mentioned, Anthony, which will obviously stay with us, is like it's also a process that needs to be followed. It's not something which is going to happen overnight, which is because it's difficult as well. The data that every company has is massive. So training that, making sure that the agents are also not hallucinating, they're not doing something which they're not allowed to do. And obviously the data is in place, it's trusted, and we're following all the process and procedures. Also keeping the human in the loop is very important. So Liat, Anthony, I think as always it was such a pleasure chatting with you all. And as always, I'm going to ask this for our audience who have joined us. If they want to follow you, if they want to reach out, and if they want to keep learning about the different things that happen at BMC, which is the best place to do that? Anthony, where can they follow you? And if they want to learn about different blogs that you publish, which is the best place?
Yeah, definitely on LinkedIn. And I've had lots of people already reaching out on LinkedIn with questions and good feedback, etc. So
Nice.
LinkedIn is the way to go. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is the place to go.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure because I follow a lot of BMC's white papers, ebooks, and also the different things. I'm gonna share like maybe the resource page with our audience as well, which is where you'll keep updating newer blogs and you'll publish a lot of content. For those who have joined us, feel free to follow Liat and Anthony on LinkedIn and keep asking them interesting questions around mainframe, agents, trust. They are experts in this space and always welcome a healthy discussion around the different topics. So, but once again, Liat, Anthony, we'll keep the conversation going. I'm excited
Yeah.
for 2026, and thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
us.
Revit.
Awesome. This is great. Thank you everyone for joining us today. All right.